we had a distinct effort to try and write them for the public, and it was hard work to get them written. Let me also observe that the amount of effort and energy that the little team we had put into editorial control over those to ensure. I mean, Glasgow City Council, but some love it, some don't. But I think Glasgow museums have done a very good job of kind of how you write for the public, educational content, and I would stand by that. And I think I learned that actually. I grew to respect that more and more through the project. But that meant that simple text as it would emerge from the curators would have to go through 2 or 3 or sometimes 6 or 7 stages of editing before they were deemed fit for publication outside.
Yeah, and just on that point, generally for anything which is appearing publicly in a museum, we have a number of specific target audiences, but generally we write for a reading age of around about 12. That kind of level, which means that any technical terms need to be either avoided or explained as you're approaching them. We took the conscious decision with Navigator to actually up that a little, because the target for Collections Navigator was not 12-year-old children. It was for people who were consciously searching for something and therefore must have a level of expertise to be able to do that function. So we took as our target audience, I think it was graduate level in the end, which meant that we weren't quite so constrained in the terminology and some of the language that the curators were writing. Yeah. We still were very conscious that this was for the public and they couldn't write stuff that was completely unintelligible. But there was a little bit more freedom to use technical terms, for example, using epis and rapiers and claymores rather than just swords. So, but just to come back onto the technical side of things, I'm not sure if it came out clearly, but one of the overriding kind of aims of the project was that it was integrated into our collections management system. We wanted to make sure that it wasn't an off-site thing that was done purely as a project thing, that it was totally integrated with the collections management system, which was part of the problem, I suspect, but it was also part of the solution. And so to tag on a publicly accessible website search capability onto a back-of-house collections management system required a lot of kind of input rethinking on behalf of the people who operate the collections management system. So we used the same people to create that the functionality, but that's functionality, the public searching facility did sit slightly separately from the overall collections management system. So although it was integrated in terms of all of the data that you see on Collections Navigator is integrated into the collections management system, which means that if anything gets revised, updated, it automatically gets revised and updated on Collections Navigator. So
there's kind of embedded sustainability there for at least as long as there's a collection management system, that data will still be there, which actually is a step forward on previous lottery funded projects. Not that I would want to name names, but there are examples of that happening. Let me maybe say one other thing in relation, in a slightly different way around that, and maybe it's Andrew's question presented back in a different way, which is about, even by 2006, it was perfectly obvious, I think, to us all that the last thing the internet needed was another database and another website for people to go and search through. So we spent quite a lot of time on those collection level description kind of metadata standards in order that it would be to an appropriate degree interoperable. We didn't go down the culture grid route. I would say we got tied up with a couple of organisations, People's Network and Enrich UK and one or two other services, which seemed to be full of promise in 2006, but perhaps a little like culture grids, we're not quite sure where they went, to be honest, and the data was there waiting for anyone who wanted to harvest it to come and harvest it, but I don't think that ever, to my knowledge, that never actually happened, although I guess the offer is still in principle.
But to be fair, we never pushed it.
Well, we never pushed it. That's certainly true. So that was kind of, and there was a big move for those sorts of cross-search services. But I think it's Googleable. I mean, I can't remember where that ended up. But the sense was that we wanted to make sure that Google could index it, because it was obvious even by 2006 that cross-searching was great and all, but actually what you want is Google to be able to index it. And we had some thoughts. Do you remember the kind of early discussions about crowdsourcing and?
Indeed.
Oh, that was going to be great. That was going to change the world.
So we always felt that there should be an opportunity for the public to interact with our collections, and so quite a lot of time and energy was put into creating a comment facility to all of the collection level descriptions, and there was quite a lot of worry at the time that how on earth are we going to manage all of these comments? What are we going to do with them? Is it going to generate so much in terms of institutional resource that will be required to respond to these comments? In truth, we probably got about 3 comments. And
that's not crowdsourcing, that's trio sourcing.
I'll read what it actually says.
You've got an example.
So it says, for each of the collection level descriptions, it says, do you have a personal story relating to the objects or subjects covered by this collection? Or do you simply have a general comment to make? Well, that's a very generous offer, but why on earth would you want to do that? So we tried very hard to force it, but it wasn't an actual thing for people to want to do. And so the comments that we did get back were just like, what you would get in a visitor's book. So it was, that's lovely, or the classic, brings back memories. Which is absolutely useless in terms of us generating any useful information on the collection, which was the hope.
It wasn't me. Actually, it wasn't me. Can I say 2 or 3 things that I'm really proud of in the Navigator? Because there are good parts of this. So, firstly, and it sounds really strange to say now, perhaps, but this was the first time that anywhere on a Glasgow Museum's website, a list of the curators appeared with their contact details and what they were responsible for. And therefore an invitation for people to contact, the curators might not be proud of that, but an opportunity to contact the curators and say, I'd like to have a discussion with you about X or Y. And it was part of a movement. When I think about it, actually Collections Navigator has probably pulled through, and if I may, in ways that probably other parts of the offer didn't pull through. And I remember, and I don't know if it still is functioning, but there was a kind of an access centre set up at Kelvin Grove, which proved tremendously difficult to resource and staff. The idea being you could come and meet a curator, bring any object and have any discussion with them, and that proved really hard to resource. So I was really proud of that, and I think that's the dialogue with the public, because this is the public's collection, and that's a way of the public having a dialogue, if not with the collection, at least with the people involved.
And that was actually quite subversive, still is quite subversive, because there is within the General Council internet provision, you will find it very, very difficult to find anybody that works anywhere within Glasgow Life or the council. And so we tried to put curatorial names and responsibilities onto the website, but we were told, no, you can't do that. So we were in a meeting just the other day where we discussed the principle of proceed until apprehended. And that's exactly what we did with Collections Navigator, and we put on the curators with their pictures, some of which they're looking a bit fresh-faced now, they're 10 years old.
It's all those email inquiries I've had to deal with.
But we identified the curators, we put their pictures up, we said what they were responsible for, and that was a big deal.